Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. Finally, after weeks and weeks of stress, it's finally just a normal. We have a patch coming up, but I guess it's a more normal Sunday for me, Monday for you now, than it has been. As you can see, Ivy's over here living her life, so she swung back the other way pretty much like 4 or 5 days ago. Finally eating, finally drinking, and as you can see, acting exactly like Ivy was before. She just took really badly to those antibiotics, so I had to take her in to get fluids because she wouldn't drink and she wouldn't eat. I don't mind if she doesn't eat that much for a week, but getting no fluids at all was something I just wasn't comfortable with, especially after the Aloha stuff. But as you can see, Ivy is doing swell, thus I can get back to doing things like working on videos more consistently and getting to the gym and cooking and all the other things that I tend to do in my spare time. So there's the good news for the start. Other good news, it's patch week. So YouTube's going to be ultra busy. We're going to have tons of uploads of first time clears, guides, opinions, and then of course we'll have Ultimate, where I'll regularly be uploading first time completion of phases or strategies or discussions after. All right, Ivy, fine, you can come onto my lap. No, come on. Don't just do the stretch. If you're going to be on my lap, then be all the way on my lap. There you go. Whew, so it's going to be busy. I also have some other things I can't talk about just yet that are going to be popping up on the channel, as well as things that I'll be doing over on the live stream that, again, I can't talk about quite yet. But, just teaser that there's some stuff coming up over the next couple of months that is already well in the works. Other than that, not too much going on. Just playing Brighter Shores. Actually, I'm not much of a RuneScape guy, but I am so you ever play like Adventure Capitalist or like any of those idle or AFK games? I'm actually a big fan of them. I don't play them very often. AFK Journey I did do a sponsorship thing for, and I really enjoyed that. But like I've always enjoyed those kind of games, and it's not quite like that. There are some idling features, but it's just like a chill numbers go up game, and that's been really good for me after everything that's happened over the past couple of weeks. That's been really good. It's still rough around the edges in a lot of ways, but that was to be expected given it's just like a free early access thing. So that's what I've got going on. And with that, we should get into the Q&A. There aren't too many comments, so I'm not sure how many questions there are. So this might be on the shorter side, but every time I say that, doesn't usually end up being the case. Thanks to the sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. Nobody has to support, they choose to. All my content is available for free here on YouTube. I do not paywall anything, but anyone who does support, it is greatly appreciated. Now, with that, let's get on to the Q&A. Oh, I got a pretty wordy first hashtag here. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Mr. Happy, and an extra hello for anyone who misses one. Minor spoilers from 7.0. Yeah, at this point. It's been months. I'm not going to hold those out. Although it's difficult to speculate. All right, speculation's kind of rough. Direction will be headed in from 7.3 to 8.0, especially this early. It seems likely dimensional fusion is going to play a large part. I don't think it's likely at all. I think the whole point is that we shouldn't be doing that at all. Like, we were trying to stop that from happening in any capacity. We saw through 6.5 the connection made between the denizens. I can already see where this is going. Of the first and the new Light of Hope in the 13th. We also know, despite all our efforts, light and shadow are still prevalent forces we are dealing with in both reflections. We have made no efforts to fix the 13th. Like, zero. All we did was stop Zeromus and Golbez. We have made no efforts to in any way heal the 13th. We have several quests that are like kind of moving in that direction. And the first we've done a fantastic job with. The first has actual flow of ether. The stagnation is giving way. It's a generational thing. So it's not going to happen. Like, we're not going to witness the rebirth of the first. And there's probably things you could do to speed it up, but it's happening naturally. That's like kind of the entire point of the Eden quest line. From a narrative perspective, stands the reason that dimensional fusion might be the solution. No. You do not want to just merge the first and the 13th. Unless there was okay. So let me put it this way: there is not a perfect balance of light and dark. There's way more bad happening on the 13th than there is on the first. The first at least has pockets of life, and already we've begun to eliminate the stagnation of ether through the events of the Eden quest line. The 13th, we have done nothing to solve the 13th. It is as bad as it was like 10,000 years ago. So we do not want that. One of those is a lot more prevalent than the other. It's not like an even balance. This is dimensional fusion is not going to play any role in fixing the first or the 13th. Those are things that have to be done not all at once. Like, even if there was a like story portion where it's like, oh, we need to do something, right? Like it's got to be immediate, like for some story bit, it wouldn't be the entirety of the shards, especially for a number of reasons. One being the actual instancing that would need to be done in terms of us because you got to remember, we go to the first. The first can't suddenly be for some of us just literally two worlds merged, because it will be unrecognizable. It's effectively like a WoW Cataclysm equivalent for the first, and they're not gonna do that. So no, this dimensional fusion, we don't want dimensional fusion happening. Using dimensional fusion as a means of studying dimensional travel, that's a different story. Something Ishtola will probably look into. But no. We're not gonna merge the first and the 13th. That would be a terrible idea for all shards, as a matter of fact. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey Haps, hi, happy patch week. Yes, happy patch week to you too. Discussion me and my tank friend were discussing last night, Dark Knight. So you were drinking and being depressed then. Well, it seemed like it gets slightly worse in terms of survivability with every expansion. Darkspin, my preferred tank's its Heavensward. While it makes a great off tank, it doesn't have anywhere near the survivability of the other three. I'll say this, the main thing Dark Knight doesn't have is healing. That's why you think it looks worse, because it doesn't really get any more healing than it had before. You know, Paladin will get like an extra like bit of healing tossed on something, or Warrior for some reason will get another thing of healing, or Gunbreak. Like we've seen that expansion on expansion where the other healers are gradually getting more healing. I'll say that that's not the core issue with Dark Knight. There are core issues with Dark Knight, but their survivability is not technically one of them. It's their survivability in all circumstances that's one of them. Because they have two abilities that rely on magic damage, anytime magic damage isn't what's prevalent from the boss, they're down 2 cooldowns. Like, that's instantly a problem. Like, Gunbreaker's down 1 cooldown, but it's better 1 than 2. So, yeah, that's more one of the core problems. TBN, of course, being so integral to the job's survivability is another potential issue. But there are just core design issues that aren't its self-healing. Now, why they haven't given it more self-healing, I cannot for the life of me figure out. Dark Knight healing is literally one of the things, because like in other Final Fantasies, it gives up HP to do things and then heals it back. And it's so like, I can understand you not wanting them to use HP. I guess technically Living Dead almost looks like that in a sense. Like it almost emulates that, but not really. And the healing back as well. That like is supposed to encapsulate kind of, I guess, what some people like using your HP as a resource with Living Dead and then healing it back up. That's not what it really, like, it doesn't really capture that. So the fact that they've been so hesitant to give it any amount of self-healing blows my mind. But yeah, no, there are fundamental design issues with Dark Knight that I don't think boil down to it being worse in terms of survivability. It's that its survivability has always been conditional, and that has not improved, while the rest of the job around it has also not improved. So I think that's just, other jobs are actually taking steps forward, and Dark Knight really isn't, is the main thing. Nazuiko, what's this? Draws out your death and makes recovery delayed. You mean P5? No, P5S Devour, there is no delayed recovery. If you die in Devour, it's 99% of the time a disaster. Because you end up with extra slimes, potentially, because people don't handle them properly, or you... and then they explode, or you like don't have enough people in the towers. It's almost always an instant disaster. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, hi, and well met. What's your favorite enrage mechanic? You know, I was actually thinking about this, and I was actually going to do a video about this, but I'm going to wait until after FFXIV is done, when people are kind of in like a raid discussion mode, I suppose. I think it's got to be turn 10 of the, well, so final coil turn 1. We very rarely have arena shrinkage or arena changes as one of our enrage mechanics. Like sometimes a boss will destroy an arena, but more often than not, it's just you all die kind of thing. I really like that the fight in turn 10 kind of just it gradually changes because the space available becomes smaller and smaller. It's funny, World of Warcraft overuses the hell out of that mechanic where you like place puddles on the ground and they persist for the entirety of the rest of the phase, and by the end of the fight, you know, you basically have no room left, or almost no. Like they do that in so many fights. Like looking back, like I think at Cataclysm, I was having this discussion earlier today. In Cataclysm, that really began with, I mean, it really began before Lady Sinestra. She's one of the first ones that comes to mind. I mean, Ragnaros does the same thing with the fire spreading and needing to use the water in order to put it out, in order to make sure there's actually enough space to finish the whole phase. But like even just looking at the most recent tier, like the final two bosses both do that. If you look at things like Frake in the previous, like they do it a lot. Whereas we've only done it like once. And ours is a lot more controlled because it's a timed arena shrinkage thing. I guess you kind of have Emerald Weapon too, but Emeralds is nobody cares because it's not really that big of a deal. Like the fight barely does anything with that reduced space. Whereas a Savage fight or a Savage difficulty fight like turn 10 does a lot with that shrunken space. So I think that one, especially because it's very standout comparatively to a lot of stuff. And they experimented a lot more with that kind of stuff back in the day as a whole. I mean, you had soft enrages, hard enrages, you had enrage conditions in a sense. You know, looking at Caduceus, for example, if both of the snakes reformed at any point, it was basically like the soft enrage timer would begin. ADS having the timer itself, or even Alec. I mean, Alec and Rot was just a failed mechanic, but even still. And then what else do you have? What's another really good one? No, that's not one. No, turn 4 just wipes you. Like, you just die. Turn 4 is just like, and you're gone. Although turn 4 is kind of a weird one anyway, because the Dreadnoughts just gradually get out of control there regardless. But yeah, I mean, I guess I don't want to go through the entire expansion. It's definitely turn 10 where the arena starts getting smaller. And that plays into that your enrage is the arena shrinking all the way, and even then you can still survive it for a little bit, but you're basically done in the next few GCDs. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, hi, first time asking a question, welcome. I'm playing around with the idea of a true melee caster and melee healer. It's not your fault. The reaction is it's not your fault. It's years of having to address this. I'll read it first. True 1-2-3 combos run their auto attacks or combos allow the usage of other OGCDs. My healer concept would have a similar mechanic as Cardia, where the auto attacks or 1-2-3 combo would pulse out healing to the party. It would beef up their healing output or provide shielding and mix. Whenever I bring up the idea, I'm rebuffed with the statements that fight design is made for 4 melee and 4 range, and healers are usually expected to be a part of the range group. There are several mechanics where tank stack and healers are away from the boss. I feel that the newer fights I've seen in DT, there's more and more wiggle room where people are positioned. So the problem is that is part of the problem, but it's not the core problem. The core problem with a melee healer, and I'm only going to tackle melee healer here, because melee caster technically will fall under the same problems, but we have melee casters in the game as it is. Whether it's a joke or not, Samurai is a melee caster. Ninja is basically a mage. Like 90% of its burst output comes from magic damage. Like we have effectively things that almost fall in that range. So it is what it is. But with melee healer in particular, the reliance on needing to physically attack while in range of a target to access key abilities effectively makes you useless in about 30% of content, and especially in high-end content. The moment there's no boss available, you are worse than every other healer in the game by a wide margin. Unless the melee aspect of your job is limited to something akin to Cardia, in which case most people won't care, because 90% of the time, all you're doing is overhealing. We are not in a game where you need gradual healing very often. We are in a game where you need to know exactly what off globals you need in order to heal back to full, and the occasional full global that you need to get back to full. Everything else becomes overhealing. And while, yeah, it's kind of nice in like a dungeon boss to see Cardia tick the tank up while they're not taking autos and not needing to spend the off global, especially splashing to a party member becomes nigh on useless. And then if you have a shield from that, well, the shield's going to be effectively nothing. It'll be like a 500 point shield at most. It's like Brutal Shell, which, you know, no one's would say no to an AoE brutal shell, but it's also never going to be the reason anyone brings you. You know what I mean? So your key problem becomes, as soon as there's no boss available or anything prevents you from being in range, your identity as a melee healer, putting that in quotes, is lost, because you need to be a fully functioning healer at all ranges, no matter what. You cannot be reliant on that melee range, or you will never be selected. Now, if you're talking about a caster in the same way, like kind of the same idea as that, the same problem kind of comes into play, but that not really, because you're really just a melee with a magic damage profile. And again, that already exists in Final Fantasy XIV. So that's totally a reasonable thing. And every melee DPS doesn't do anything during downtime, you know, the second wind or pop a cooldown. Sure. There's nothing wrong with the idea of a melee caster. It's just melee healer because your responsibilities require you to be functional at all ranges at all times. So you can only very superficially call yourself something like that in this game. My leg is falling asleep with Ivy on it. She, by the way, when you saw her on my lap, she is still there. She is still completely on my lap. I gotta wiggle my feet a little bit before I answer this. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey Haps. Hi. Laliho, Ohokali, and hey, just to catch anyone who isn't polite. Everyone's polite so far. What are your thoughts as someone... Wow, there's a lot of thoughts and speculation questions this week. What are your thoughts as someone who does a lot more high-end content? What do you think the community reaction would be to an EX or Savage where halfway through we had the light party split? I mean, that'd be fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But all that matters is that part of the fight just lame is just lame? Or is it actually well designed? Because if it's just two not too difficult four-player bosses, like, you know, four-player bosses, especially at an extreme difficulty, then it's like... As long as it's flavorful, then it's generally fine. As long as it doesn't detract from the pacing of the fight, then it's fine. No one's going to complain about them trying to do something they don't do very often or haven't done before. All they care about is it fun to do, and then is it fun to do 99 times to get a mount or to get whatever else you want. So all that comes down to is execution. Otherwise, you really can't say no to ideas that come down to fight design. Like, you can kind of look at the way the game is designed, kind of like with the melee healer question, and go, that doesn't make any reasonable sense based on how the game is generally played. But you also have to think, could you make it work? So it's like, yeah, I mean, there's nothing against this. Like, we already have 4-and-4 splits in, you know, Savage content. So, I mean, there's no reason you couldn't have it here too. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi there, Haps. Hi. I hope you're doing well. Looking forward to the patch a day and a half from when you read this. Yeah. I'm thinking of streaming my fruit prog, but I'm going to be solo. Oh, PFing. What sort of etiquette there is when streaming PF? There is no etiquette. Just as long, I'd say the only etiquette is don't be an asshole on stream. It seems that etiquette's out the window most of the time. And I mean, plenty of us at the very least, you know, we're a little more eccentric when we're trying to entertain if we're doing PF stuff. But as long as you are, you know, trying to progress, there's no etiquette. Like, if anyone, most people at this point, you rarely run into someone who actually has an issue with being streamed. It does happen, but it's very rare, especially in Ultimate. So there's just no etiquette. Just you focus on being a decent human being as best you can, as frustrating as it can be in Ultimate PF. And that's about all you can do. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, and an extra hello if someone forgot. A while ago, me and a stackmate were talking, and they brought up that they think, it said things, that confused me. Crafted gear item level should be previous Savage tier, so 7.2 should be 730 instead of 740. Argue this because getting a full crafted set means those who do Savage don't touch normal, but what do you think of the idea? No. All you're effectively doing is making it harder for people to catch up. Like, if somebody starts playing in the patch, they have no great way of getting the gear that is the entry item level for the next thing. And I don't see a reason. There's no reason to do this. I guess you could also argue there's no reason not to. Item level superficial, basically. It is a number go up kind of situation, and it's specifically designed so that you are caught up to the previous thing. But they also want the crafted gear market. This is very important. They want experienced raiders and people who already have the previous bits to be people who want to spend gil on brand new crafted stuff. Now, you could argue 730 with 5 slots. Of course they're going to do it. And you're right, a lot of people still will because of the pentamelding value. But that number goes way down because it's not that important to get, you know, 3 more melds on everything at the same item level compared to jumping 10 item levels and then also getting a bunch of melds. So they definitely want it for catching up to new stuff and not having to worry about the old stuff at all. Like it's like it's a non-factor to you at that point because it's not even the same item level. And they want all the people who are currently wearing BIS and have everything from the previous patch to also be customers for the new stuff. So there's no shot. They want all that to be in place, so they're going to leave it as is. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Wait, that's a Q. Hi there, Mr. Happy. Hi. I would put down some cold hard cash for an in-game bicycle mount. I'm worried that I won't ever see this happen because our characters would have to pedal, and in 3 years, I don't think I've ever seen our character's model move their limbs while mounted. It's probably 1 or 2 examples. We've got a lot of mounts, a lot of stuff. Ivy, you're the one who... Well, actually, I took you off my lap. She just jumped back onto my lap. Are there any mounts that you can think of that I might be overlooking? I mean, I'd have to look. Like, of all the things that are encyclopedically, like, stored in my head, this is just not one of them. So, I wish I could tell you one, but, like, there are a lot of creative... I mean, actually, wait a minute. You've never seen our limbs move. Do you mean I've never seen them move in that kind of manner? Because we have the mount coming up from Cloud of Darkness Chaotic, the panel where you do your like panic emote on top of it. You're technically on a mount, and it even knocks you off the mount when you do that animation. So yeah, that's like one that's a recent one that pops up in my mind, but I'm sure there are others. I know limbs, I mean arms move plenty, but I feel like you're talking about legs. I mean, that's one that comes to mind with legs, but I'd have to literally look down the list and see almost any of them to see if that is ever a thing. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello there. Hi. Hope for a good recovery with Ivy. Yeah, she's back here on my lap again, and hoping your own health well, my health is mostly fine. Other than I wasn't eating or sleeping very much, but I'm good now. My question is about predictions for Cloud of Darkness Chaotic Fight. I made a video breaking down some predictions on that. Due to time constraints, I only hop on the PF very sparingly. Only done the 2 floors. I'll likely have a similar time constraint for 7.15. Do you think Cloud of Darkness will be even bigger commitment? No. It's supposed to be extreme-ish difficulty. This one, they said, is probably closer to a 1st or 2nd floor Savage, which, quite frankly, are pretty close to extreme difficulty as it is, especially in recent times. If you don't start until December. Wait, but it doesn't come out till December. It comes out December 24th, 7.15. So, you can't start until December. So, in other words, I don't think you have any issue here. And the answer is no. I think you'll be fine because everyone's going to be doing it. We only have 7 days in December before. Maybe if you meant in January, it would be different. But even then, all that should really change is groups will have more people with clears. And so, like, people looking to help new players to get totem boosts or people looking to do it inside of boost windows should make it plenty available. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello to the man that is known as Happy. That is me. I have a question for you about explaining raid mechanics to other people. I've recently taken up the role of teaching my friends mechanics for endgame content. My main question for you is there any pitfalls I should avoid when it comes to teaching my friends the mechanics? I'm already making diagrams to show them where they should be and who they stand with, but I'm failing to come up with anything else. So make them do the new Hall of the Novice. You want them to recognize mechanics at a glance. And it's very important to teach people how to learn mechanics, not just what mechanics do. This is why we run into issues where people learn how to do a strat for a fight, but they fundamentally can't grasp any other strategy that the game possibly offers. It is because they don't actually know how to play the game. They only know how to repeat the thing they were taught how to do. Like, for example, solving a mechanic and figuring out how it even works the way that it does is a process of just eliminations. And once you know how to do that, you can fix botched runs, you can save runs, you can do all sorts of things that you otherwise you give up immediately if you don't know how they actually work. So teaching them how to recognize a mechanic and what it's doing at a glance is just as valuable a thing as teaching them how to do specific mechanics and then trying to translate those into other fights. So I would add that repertoire. I would add that to your repertoire of things to teach them. Teach them how to learn and not just what to learn. And I'm sorry I'm leaning so far away from the microphone, but Ivy is very comfortable on my lap So I'm trying to project into the microphone, and hopefully that comes through in the YouTube video. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Mr. Happy. Hi. Long-time watcher. First time asking. Welcome. Chaotic raids will have data center buff time periods for rewards. As OCE player, we are denied data center travel field. This move from Yoshi P is a misstep considering this puts Oceania at this. No, it just means that everyone on OCE is going to be on the same data center whenever there's a bonus. And if you have a bonus, there's a chance other people are going to come and fill your party finder. So I don't see much of a disadvantage. Like, yeah, does it mean you have less chances? Sure, but it also means everyone's always on that data center and other people can fill your PFs. So I don't know that there's really that much of a disadvantage. I don't think this matters as much as you think it does. I think most people are just going to focus on farming it when they can and not be like, oh my god, it's in bonus, let's go do it. I don't think that's actually going to be used all that much. And I think it's going to be a lot more about like Discords forming parties for it than anything else. And I can already see this is the last question. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps, how you going? I'm going all right. You going all right? I'm going all right. With Unreal lock you to 695 for the whole expansion, is it worth to have a gear set for 695 gear to do Unreal on? So, you cannot get a set of 695 gear if I'm not mistaken. In fact, I don't think Unreal has ever had a good set at item level. I think it's always like the artifact gear or something that you get. Like, what? Let's see, we're 730 now, 710. What would 690 gear have been? Because there's no 695 gear, but there is 690 gear, and I think that's no. The artifact stuff is 680. I think is 690 dungeon gear. That's dungeon gear. I don't remember. If skill speed is a major concern or spell speed is a major concern, and you can get a set that's like 590 or some, sorry, 690 to 695, like any of the pieces are in that range, that I think is worth doing, just for your sanity. But otherwise, most people don't care. Most people just sink down and deal with it. And there's never been a problem because it's an extreme trial. Who cares, right? It's just an extreme trial at the end of the day. But anyway, that is going to be a wrap for this week's Q&A. Yeah, we kept it pretty short. I mean, there weren't too many questions. There's some things, just hoping that Ivy gets better soon. A few comments about some stuff from last week, but not too many comments as a whole. So I get to wrap this one bright and early. Good, because I came in from the gym and there's this new ramen place that opened up near me. So I stopped in and tried it for the first time. It was good. It was good. Yeah, it's good. Anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and check and then ask your question in the comment section of the video below for next week's Q&A. Thanks again to the sponsors on Patreon for supporting. All my content is available for free. Nothing is paywall behind Patreon, but I do appreciate it all the same. Oh yeah, Ivy, now you want to get up? Huh? There she is. Look, hi. Yeah. Yeah? That's what you like, huh? Yeah, that's what she likes. So, I'm going to go play Brighter Shores now. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and I will see you throughout the week in the other videos and next week for the Q&A. Ivy, say bye. Say bye. Go on. You always yell at me in the morning. Why don't you meow at them now? Okay, bye.